You're listening to the Long Game Podcast. I'm your host, Sandra Sciano, and I am truly impressed by today's episode. Really, the technology of it all. It's exciting. What we talk about is insightful and very down to earth at the same time. My guest today is coming direct to our conversation from the Camino de Santiago, a 500-mile route. Well, actually routes, because there are many of them, that goes through Spain and ends in Santiago de Compostela, Spain. These are the oldest pilgrimage routes in Europe. People walk these routes to arrive at the Santiago Cathedral when they're on religious pilgrimages, but thousands of others walk each year for their own journey, just to experience life and for time with their thoughts. So yes, coming to you direct from the Camino de Santiago is my guest, Lisa Corrado. Lisa is a coach who works with small business owners and entrepreneurs to simplify their success. And when you listen to this episode, you will understand why. She brings an ease to things naturally. Walking the Camino was a challenge Lisa gave herself, and she told me that it pulls together everything she loves to do with her clients. Dream big, make bold choices, set up support and structure, tap into identity, and show others what's possible. We are catching Lisa in the moment, and the gems that she brings to our conversation, you're just not going to hear them anywhere else. We talk about making the commitment, having faith that things will work out, and bringing flexibility in. And Lisa's journey is 2 months long. So if you're hearing this when this episode airs, she will still be on the trail for a few more weeks. And you can follow her on social and catch a glimpse of the walking life. One of the things we all want to know is, how do you leave a thriving coaching business for 2 months? We all get caught up in the I can'ts when it comes to big dreams and checking things off our bucket list sometimes. And Lisa is here to help us realize that we can do anything that we dream and keep our business running. You are going to be so inspired by today's conversation, and I'm so excited to bring it to you and have Lisa here. The long game is walking the Camino de Santiago with Lisa Corrado. In a world where everyone is doing, it's easy to get lost in a sea of comparison, secret tricks, and promises of overnight success. The long game? That's my approach to business. You gotta show up, you gotta do the work, and there are no quick fixes for long-term success. It takes creativity, it takes strategy, and it takes listening to the voice inside you. I'm a web designer, digital strategist, and energetic thinker, bringing you real-world business-building experiences, conversations with creators who are out there doing it now, and ideas to spark the energy in your own business. And along the way, we're going to have a little bit of fun as well. So thanks for being here, and let's get to today's episode. Welcome to another episode of the Long Game Podcast. You are going to be truly inspired by today's conversation. For those of you just sitting around waiting, saying, I wish I could, whatever, well, you can. Today's guest is Lisa Corrado, and she is direct to us from her part spiritual journey, part bucket list item, one of the routes on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. So welcome, Lisa. I am in awe that we can connect while you're away and on a trek, basically.
Isn't this fun? I've been so excited to have this conversation, and isn't it cool that we can do this while I'm walking across Spain?
Totally. And so tell us a little bit, back us up, what you know, give us a little overview of what the Camino is. I was saying to you that I was likening it to a Appalachian Trail type of piece without the camping part.
Yes. You can camp if you want to. I prefer not to camp. So what I love about the Santiago, so it's like this 500 plus mile, the route that I'm doing is, and there are multiple Santiago routes. The route that I'm doing is about 500 miles across northern Spain. And it's just really cool because you're walking from town to town to town, sometimes a city, but generally these small little towns. And some of them exist because they're here totally in service of the pilgrims who are walking. So much of the economy, so much of the structure is all set up to support people like me who are walking. So there's lodging, there's places to eat, there's services that'll help us. So I don't have to figure out like, where am I going to put I do have to decide where I'm going to sleep, but I don't have to decide, is this a good camping spot? Is this not? Is there fresh water? Are there bears? Whatever it is, I can just show up and walk and have my experience and then get myself to a place where I have a bed and probably a meal and just do it again the next day.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so delightful. I am such a walker. Like that is my solace. That's where I work out ideas, all of that. So following you on this journey has really turned me onto it. Like I'm inspired to do it myself. I mean, there's so many pieces I want to talk about here. Just the idea of this big undertaking. I mean, this is planning. You don't just show up. You've got to train for it. You've got to plan for it. You are a coach. You are a business coach to women entrepreneurs. So you're running your business. You're out there for 2 months right now, and you'll be running your business. I mean, again, you're doing podcast interviews. So you're connected in some ways and off the grid, I'm sure, in a lot of ways. But I want to also talk about that whole piece. Like, number one, how did you say, like, I could do this? I mean, I know you wanted to challenge yourself, so you can tell us that whole piece, but like, how does this come together when you're a business owner?
I'm exploring all of those answers right now. And I did a lot of exploration before I left, right? So I was telling you, one of the reasons the big reason I wanted to do this was I wanted to do something big and scary by myself. And taking 2 months to do this that's pretty big and scary.
Yeah.
And doing it alone. I mean, there are plenty of people doing this, but I'm by myself most of the time, which is scary in and of itself, right? Because I'm by myself with my thoughts a lot. Foreign country, minimal Spanish, which gets a little bit better every day. There's a lot that could be said about that. And so when I was thinking about it, I thought, okay, yeah, I want to do this. And a lot of people were saying, well, just make sure you take the time off, like really give yourself the time off. You don't want to kind of dilute this experience by working. And I thought, no, I really do want to stay connected with my clients because first of all, I would miss them for 2 months. Like I really enjoy spending time with my clients. And I thought, I don't want to not see them for 2 months. And I also knew they would be really supportive. Like I just knew they would be really, really excited. And they'd want to like come on this journey with me. And I wanted to show them this. I wanted to show them like, look, you can do something this crazy. There are ways to do this. So once I decided that's what I was going to do, then it was just really like looking at all the parts and pieces, like how are my clients supported? How do they stay supported? And putting all of everything that I put into place, and we can talk more about that if you want, but just putting everything into place so that I could do this, still keep working, still make money, still grow my business. They're fully supported. They're excited. They're getting what I promised them when they signed up with me. And, everybody's winning, and they're also having this really fun look at, wow, like, what's the thing that I can do? If it's not the Camino, what's the thing that I can do?
You are setting the best example for them to follow your dreams, dream big, bold ideas, all of that, which is, tenants in your brand, I know, but what better way than to be an example?
Yeah. And I got the funniest when I first told my clients about this on a group call. And it was sometime, I want to say it was the beginning of the year or something like that. One of the email responses I got, this woman wrote all in caps, "You are being the example. This is so amazing." It just cracked me up. But just, of course she's excited because I'm excited. Everybody's excited about it. And I really do love, joking aside, I really love that I can say, like, look what's possible. Like, I'm doing this. What do you want to do? And how can we set you up so that you can do what you want to do the way that you want to do it?
Totally. And that is the benefit of working with you. I mean, people come to you to say, I got to work this out. I have to work something out. So
Yeah.
the fact that you're able to show them that in your own life is truly a gift to them as well. And to all of us. I mean, I want to make sure that everyone who's listening is following you. I'm juggling around the schedule and we're going to put this right into production so that you will still be on the journey. When you're listening to this, when it goes live, Lisa will still be on the journey. So you can follow her on IG, sign up and get on her email list to get her weekly emails and hear about this journey and be inspired by it as well. So just on a time frame wise, you're about 4 weeks in, right?
I am coming up to the end of my 5th week. So I'll have 3 more weeks after this. Yeah. Wow. It's going really fast.
2 months. And
yeah.
How did you train for this? I mean, you're walking 12, 15 miles a day.
I'm actually walking a little less. The plan was to walk 12 or 15 miles a day. And the body, once I got here, was like, hey, no, we don't really want to do that much.
That is a huge lesson as well, right? How can you adjust on the fly?
Yep. And I mean, huge support. So part of what is making this happen is all of the support I put into place. And one of the pieces of support, one of my best friends is my physical therapist. So he has been on call
That's awesome.
and available. So I'm walking anywhere between 6 to 12 miles a day. And so training for that, I actually started training before I realized I wanted to do this. So coming out of the pandemic, I had stopped going to the gym and I had stopped running and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I don't even remember how it came up, but I had seen something about people just walking with a weighted backpack, like a backpack with some stuff in it. It's called rucking. And I thought, we've always done big hiking trips. I thought, I could do that for exercise because I like to do that. So that became my cardio. So 3 to 5 days a week, like before work, I'm going to the park. I've got a 20-pound pack on and I'm walking and I love it. Like I realize I'm smiling the whole time. So I started training back in June and it wasn't until November where I said, let's do this as a trip. And it made so much sense. So then it was doing more and doing more and doing more. And really just, walking with the pack. That's how you train. You walk with the pack.
And break in your shoes along the way.
Break in your shoes.
I saw that you swapped out shoes along the way. Did you have 2 pairs broken in and get a new one? Or are those brand new spanking shoes?
They're brand spanking new shoes. And I realized what I did was I broke the other ones in so well. I probably put like a couple 100 miles on them before we even got to Spain. And I mean, they just were like, please let us go.
Your feet were like, we need some support.
Exactly. Really, the difference between the old ones and the new ones, it's like they're the exact same shoe. And I couldn't even tell. And then you saw the picture, like the old ones look like
they've been through hundreds of miles.
Because they have.
Yes, exactly. The stories they can tell. So this was part of a big challenge for you. Is that how you set things up for yourself? Or were there, people go on this journey for spiritual reasons. It ends, if you do a full route, it ends at the Santiago de Compostela. It's Compostela, I should say.
Compostela, yep.
Compostela. And it's got a cathedral there. And so people really make a pilgrimage during holy times to that. Of course, it's going to be a spiritual journey. Were you just looking for this type of challenge? And that's something that you do? I mean, I know that you have trekked in Kilimanjaro and all of that as well. So was it a healing piece? You've conquered cancer. You've got all kinds of healing going on in your life. So is that just something in your personality that you're challenging yourself at different times?
You know what? I love that question. And nobody's ever asked me that. And I think the answer is yes. I really feel like the answer is yes, because I do love a really big challenge. And part of it is I like to work really hard. Like that's just part of who I am. I like that. It feels good to me. I also like to be able to tell amazing stories like, hey, guess what I did? Right? And also there's this whole component of, as you mentioned, it's a spiritual journey. Like I wanted the challenge, of having a couple of months on my own where it's me like thinking through things. Like I just turned 55 and I'm finding it's a time where, I really am much more reflective. I'm like looking around and going, okay, what do I want the next half of my life to really be like? So it's that opportunity as well. So it's the physical challenge, which of course I really love. And it's the spiritual, mental, like heart challenge as well. So it's got everything going for it.
Yeah, I am loving the 50s. I'm almost 51 now, so I'm coming to the end of my first foray into it. And it is a time of reclaiming who you are, casting away all of these whatever society and I put on myself even in the past and all of that. So, a journey like this with that self-reflective time, I mean, how could it not be?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it must just be, I mean, I can only imagine, right? You start out, you're like, okay, I'm thinking about practical things. Which way am I going or whatever? And then the mind starts to wander about half hour in, right? And you're
Yeah, what's really interesting, actually, it was slightly different for me because I showed up and I only made like a few nights of reservations. And my original plan was I'm just going to walk until I get to a place where I think I want to stay and I will book lodging there.
oh, that's cool.
And it didn't work out for a bunch of reasons. I actually wound up booking way ahead because it's just there are a lot of people here, like more people than usual. It's much busier. I was having trouble finding lodging, and I learned about myself. I don't like to sleep in rooms with strangers anymore. I have aged completely out of that. Once they're snoring, I can't do that. Plus, a lot of people, there've been a lot of COVID cases around here, knock on wood. So actually, in the beginning, I took care of a lot of the practical stuff. Like I just banged it out, and I'm like, okay, now I just get to think. Now I just get to be. Now I just get to walk. So
And look,
and
right?
it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I love, what is different is that it's natural. There's nature, there's these pieces, but then there's also culture and towns and cities, larger, smaller towns type of thing. Like you have posted some amazing murals and cool artwork and things in addition to food and cathedrals and buildings and architecture things,
Yep.
so that to me is so interesting that it's really a cornucopia of eyesights and, intakes for that.
It really, really is. And what's so funny is I actually had no idea what it was going to be like. Like I didn't really read about this before I left. I was interested in the duration. I knew that I could walk. I knew that I could make things happen. So I didn't give it a lot of thought. And it has been just this huge bounty of things to see and places to go and like simple things, beautiful fields of flowers and then the most intricate cathedrals and everything in between. And it really wasn't until I got here that I could connect with the different places where I was going and actually start to make plans and think, okay, I want to make sure that I get to this place by this time because I want to go into that church.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want to go to this place. And it really it's been so interesting. In one day, I can be walking through vineyards. I could be walking through fields. I could be walking through an industrial part of the city. I could be walking through a medieval part of the city, a modern part of the city. I could be walking on ancient Roman roads. I could be walking through the forest all in one day. It's just unbelievable.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you know what? I'm sure you also from meeting people along the way, when you're dining at one of your stops, if you meet people, you're hearing tidbits from them, what they've researched, and you're all sharing that too. So it might spark an idea of like, oh, I want to check that out now. I didn't know about that before.
Yep. There's so much learning from other people of places to go, places to stay, places to eat, but also I've really learned to just be open and pay attention to what I hear people saying because so many things that I've just heard by chance have helped me along the way. Like, oh, I need to make sure I get to this place by this time because of this, or I can get this pain gel that's going to really help my foot, or, anything like that. I have friends that I made here who just messaged me yesterday and they said, oh, we decided to stay somewhere else because we were hearing there were bed bugs in the albergue that we wanted to stay. So we're staying. So there's this like whole communications network, and it's really cool.
Wow. I just got chills just about the, people looking out for each other. After college, my best friend and we took a trek. We drove 8 months across country. One of the things we always said was, it's restoring my faith in humanity because people care about one another. People took us in. People treated us to things because we were two women travelers out doing things, and they wanted to show us their town. I mean, people would come, we would roll into place and someone would take off work and we didn't even know them and take us around. And it's just amazing when you get out there. And I think this is kind of the same. It restores your faith in humanity that people are kind, people are generous.
Yep. It absolutely does. And I'm seeing that like with my fellow pilgrims. I'm seeing that with people who live here. There was one stretch where everybody I walked past would say, buen camino, like all the locals. And they were so excited. And it's just, even with the language barrier, I'm finding some of the places I love to stay are hostels because I have my own room, but they're small and there's often a communal meal. And it's run by just these people who are really interested, like they're doing this because they want to, right? So they get really excited. So I've had the most interesting conversations where the person's speaking all in Spanish, I'm speaking all in English. We're having a great time. We're pretty much figuring it out, and we're just really connecting that way. So there has been a lot of connecting, a lot of we've got the shared experience and a lot of looking out for one another too, a lot of sharing. I didn't even sit down. Actually, I went to get a coffee and I was walking past this table and this woman invited me to sit down. She's like, I have food. Do you want some food? And I said, oh, I just ate, but thank you. If I was hungry, I would have taken her food, and I'm offering stuff to people as well. So there's that sense of community that I knew was going to be here that I was really, really excited to experience, the sense of community and collaboration and let's help one another. We're doing this together. It really feels good. And yes, it makes you feel so great about humanity, which is part of the reason I love to travel, because when you travel and you meet other people, you understand people are people. Like there's a lot of scary stuff out there. When you get to government levels, like when governments are working with governments, that's not us. Like we're people dealing with people. And everything can just be really beautiful and easy if we let it.
That is so succinct, and breaking it down to the day by day, taking it away from all of these bigger thoughts. You're just living day by day. I want to shift though and talk a little bit about how did you prep for this experience, not just physically, but prep your business. I mean, most of us cannot imagine going away for 2 months. And I know you wanted to work along the way, but like, talk to us a little bit about some of that setup so that you can be a little freer out there. You're still attached in the way that you want to be attached, but you don't have to come home and start over.
Right. Which I definitely did not want to do. So this may be a little surprising, but the first couple of things I did before I did anything with my business was make the decision and like really make the decision that I was going to make this happen and this was going to work out beautifully. You have to be fully in on a decision like that. You can't wonder. You have to say, it's going to work. It's going to work, because otherwise you're tripping yourself up along the way. And then I had to figure out, who do I need to be as the business owner? Like, how do I need to show up for my business, for my clients, for myself? How does that person do all of this stuff? So I had to do some work, internally and really sort that through. Then it was really focusing on the business. Like, okay, what is the business going to need? And I had most of it in place. I'm a systems girl, I'm a structures girl, I'm a support girl, like all the way. So I've got my virtual assistant. And so we talked through, okay, what are we going to do ahead of time? What are you going to do while I'm gone? Like, how do we need to set you up so that you can do all of that? So it was going through that. It was getting buy-in from my clients, so telling them, but telling them once I had a plan, because I knew two things were going to happen. The first thing was they were going to be really excited for me. The second thing was them thinking, what does that mean for me as the
For
client?
me,
Like what are my 2 months gonna, right? Because that's human nature. That's how we are. And I do the same thing. Somebody tells me something exciting about a change they're making. I'm like, that's so great. What does that mean for me? So it was really getting their buy-in and getting their support and telling them I have a plan. So I work with clients in a couple of ways. One is my breakthrough retreat, which is a 3-day thing. And then from that, women tend to join my inner circle community. And that's a year-long ongoing thing. So that's who I was most concerned about, because I was scheduling this in between retreats. So I knew I didn't have to do anything with their retreats. But I've got a group of women who I talk to all the time. So, okay, we have group calls. How are we doing the group calls? Am I going to run them? Probably not all of them. So if I don't, who's going to help me with that? So I reached out. One call was run by one of my coaches. One call is being run tomorrow by one of the clients. And then at the end of the month, I have one of my peers in the coaching group I'm in is going to run a call. So I said, okay, we're going to take care of all of that. Then the one-on-one calls I do with them, how are we going to do that? So I just figured out, okay, what's the schedule? When am I going to be available? How am I going to do that? We set all of that up ahead of time. Everybody got scheduled for 2.5 months. So everybody knew what they were doing when.
And let me ask you, that wasn't stressful to think, hey, I'm out here. I don't know where my internet's going to be. I don't know, how that's going to work. Like, how could you plan that?
What I decided to do, well, first of all, there's quite a bit of faith.
Right. You are all in and you're intentional on this. I get it. Right.
And you know what? I'm going to answer your question. But one thing I want to say, which was a nice reminder lesson for me, is when I trust that things are going to work out and when I have faith, things work out so beautifully. Like I could spend the next 2 hours telling you all about these moments where I just trusted that the thing that had to happen was going to happen, even though I had no clue how to make it happen. I just had to say, okay, all right, universe, I'm trusting you, make it happen. And the most magical things did. So, and then I thought about, okay, if I'm doing calls like this one, where do I want to be? What am I going to need? So I decided that for those days, since I knew when the days were, I would book a hotel that I knew would have some Wi-Fi, would have a desk. And I would do that. I would stay there for 2 nights. So I would make my work day my rest day, because I also wanted to make sure I had rest days. So I kind of doubled up on those. And that's worked out great. Every place I've stayed has had Wi-Fi. To be able to do that, I've had a desk. I've been able to, write or whatever I need to do, take calls. So far it's worked out really, really well. And that's it. I only brought my phone. I thought about bringing an iPad, but I'm being very mindful of the weight of everything that I'm carrying in my backpack. And I also I don't typically travel with valuable things because I don't want to have to worry about it. So I just have my phone, and I've gotten a lot more comfortable doing everything on the phone, which at home I do not do. Like get the laptop out, let me see the big screen, let me have the keyboard. But here, everything is on the phone, and it's okay. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's hard, but it all gets done.
And I love that you're also building in these rest days. I mean, this is physical, but it's also emotional, like to have some comfort along the way, and also to get back into your coaching life and that role as a leader and a coach, and not have to say, well, I'm checking out at 11 and then getting on the road type of thing. I really like the way you've planned that. And, I think you're right in that it does work out, because even when you said earlier that, hey, I'm doing less than I thought in terms of mileage per day, well, that's going to set your trajectory of travel and of cities off, right? So it's also that flexibility that you're bringing. I mean, you have such a calm about you. And I think that's part of what you bring to this experience, and that what we can all learn from it. Like, I brought up the word stressful. You did not bring up the word stressful, right? You are not feeling that. You are trusting in the universe. And that is a huge message that we can all take away from this conversation and from this experience. It's what we create it to be.
It absolutely is. And there are a million times a day where I could be so stressed out. And there have been times where I have been so stressed out. There are times that I have cried either by myself, or I've called someone and I've just cried. Or I had a call with one of my coaches, and I think 17 times I said, I'm so tired. I can't think straight. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing here anymore. That kind of thing. So
there must be like the 12 stages of the Camino, and you are on like,
so funny. But and I just remind myself, like, all the times where I trusted, it just worked out so well because, and this is part of, there's this analogy that I make, like in my coaching practice, we do group work as well, because I think it's nice to have all these other voices and all these other experiences and all these other people who can reflect back to you and can support you and that kind of thing, instead of just one person. So if I try to control the experience I'm having here, and I decide how it's going to go, and I try to make that happen, then the only experience I'm going to have probably is what I can imagine. But if I let go and I allow people to help me, and I allow the universe to step in and work some magic, well, then who knows what's going to happen? And it's always been a million times better than what I dreamt up, and a million times easier too, which I think is really interesting.
And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That is the whole point of challenging yourself and doing this, is to let go of control a little bit, to see how you respond and what your thoughts are and all of that for yourself. Yeah. The whole point of the Camino.
That was something, there were multiple things that I wanted to be able to say that I did by the end of it. I wanted to get more comfortable being uncomfortable. So, certain ways of being or ways of travel I've had to let go of in order to do this. And that's been a great learning for me, but also reminding myself that, hey, if you let go, you can have a much different experience than what you're dreaming up. And generally, it's going to be a lot better. And Sandra, I learned that every day. I relearn that every single day because it is my nature. I always joke I'm a control enthusiast. And it's in my nature to say, like, okay, what do we need to do? And if I just say, okay, this is where I want to get to. Okay, how can this happen? Let me go see if I can find someone. Let me ask some questions. Let me get some fresh input. It just really, it's so gratifying to have that experience. And it just restores my faith, just like in life, So we've got our faith restored in humanity, but also that life wants to meet us and do great things for us.
And it's such an analogy from when you're traveling to your real life, your everyday life. We can all take that. We've got to let go a little bit.
Yeah.
Trust in the universe is going to guide us on our next offer, what we should be creating, who we should be partnering with, all of those questions that we ask ourselves as business owners. We're always, we want security because security to us equals money. And that's how we're making our money and providing for our families. But I am a big believer in the universe will always bring you in the right direction or gives you what you need type of thing. And we need that reminder of it's working for you here and it'll work for us here at our desk.
100%. And the thing that I noticed specifically with my business, when I loosen my grip on it, when I don't hold things too tightly, all of a sudden it's growing and growing faster than it did before. And then when I try to control things more, the growth slows down. I'm like, oh, maybe the problem is me. What if I just show up and do what I love to do and not try to manufacture this experience? I got right the week before I left, I got 2 new clients. And I thought, this is a terrible time for me to get new clients. And I said to them, look, you know that I'm going on this trip. You know that you're not going to be able to reach me every single day. Not that they would need to, but I said, it's going to be a little limited. And they're like, yeah, we know. And I said, do you have any concerns at all about, like, you're signing up for this big thing and it's going to look a little different these first 2 months? And they said, no, you said you had a plan. We believe you. We're good. I'm like,
Right.
okay, come on in.
Drop us an email. Let us know the next steps.
Yep. And I said, all right, if you're in, I'm in. That's fantastic.
That's amazing. And that whole trust in you as well, it's because you're exuding all of these lessons before you've even had you're reinforcing the lessons that you've learned along the way here on the Camino, but that's an amazing thing. It's really part of who you are, Lisa. You embody all of this and bring it out, and people feed off that energy. I want to make sure everyone goes and checks out Lisa's website, lisacorrado.com. We have links in the show notes. You can learn about her breakthrough program if you want to be inspired to do bold things in your life and your business. And she's got a freebie up there to really help you simplify things. Start with your email inbox. You can tell from this conversation, it's about simplifying. I would be packing an iPad, probably.
I thought about it.
She is slimming down, simplifying.
Yep.
But really, I think you have let us know who you are through this and the lessons that you've shared. I'm so grateful that we were able to make this happen and you were able to come on in this state. Everybody, she is literally walking today, tomorrow, and the next day in Spain. So it's pretty monumental. And thank you so much for the time and the lessons and just sharing your story with us here.
Thank you so much. I was so excited to have this conversation. It was so much fun. And it just lit me up even more. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me today. You can access more information, links mentioned in this episode, and the show notes at thelonggamepodcast.net. If today's show connected with you in some way, please share it with your friends or hop on and leave a review. Both of these make a really big difference. All right, until next time, keep playing the long game.